Welcome to the Temple of Limitless Light. If you'd like to join, we have these classes every Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern Standard. You'll be free to join. We're on Facebook, and I'll place the link in the comments. Tonight, we are having a very special adventure. We are exploring the Tree of Life, doing the Pathworking, running from Malkuth all the way up to Keter. And tonight, we will be exploring the path of Tzaddi, of the star, that connects Yesod, which is the subconscious, with Nisak, which is the seat of the intuitive or emotional intelligence. So we have a connection between the intuitive emotions and the subconscious, and that manifests in the form of the star, which is a lovely card to get into reading, representing positive things, hope for the future. And the hero's journey, the star is part of the cosmogenic cycle, where the hero learns their place in the universe. And the star represents the emanations from the void, when the universe itself is emanated outward from the cosmic background, the temporary essence of the universe as it's blown out into creation. It exists for a while, and then it's withdrawn. But the star is the part where the universe is created. And so that's the part of the hero's journey where they discover how everything came into being. And so tonight we will be doing a guided visualization. But first, we will do a Qabbalistic cross to get everybody centered in nice trance state, grouped together as a group mind. And after we do the guided Qabbalistic cross, I will do a brief Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram to create the container for the experience, a sacred space. And then I will open a quick gate of transformation. The gate structure will open the passageway between our world and the world of the path of Tzaddi, of the star. Okay.
I can read this. It says here, you're going to read the
28 path part.
It says here that one of the tasks to be completed on this path is to learn that patience goes hand in hand with the practice of meditation. The student mustn't get discouraged if his meditations are not immediately fruitful. So the letter Tzaddi means fish hook, which alludes to the role this path plays in the active meditation, using the energies of the path to cast the fish hook of focused meditation into the waters of the subconscious in order to catch a bit of divine knowledge.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. Yes, we're using the Cicero's Garden of Pomegranates for our guided visualization. It's full of wonderful advice like that, wonderful, beautiful tidbits. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Kabbalistic cross. First, let's do a little belly breathing, a few deep breaths, at the very bottom of your abdomen. Ground and sink into our bodies and feel the support of the chair holding up our bodies, seat, wherever you're sitting, feet holding you, a firm support around us as we relax into our bodies and breathe deeply with our abdomens. Visualize yourself growing larger and larger, your head moving up through the clouds, into space, past the moon, into the universe, until the earth is but a small ball beneath your feet. Above your head, visualize a ball of pure brilliance. Reach up, touch the brilliance, bring it down to your forehead, and vibrate. To. Bring the light down to your heart center, where you can silently say the voice of your higher self, your inner guru, or Adonai. Bring the light down through the center of your being, down past your feet into the fire center of the earth itself. So you're standing in a column of light and vibrate. Bring the light up to your left shoulder. Visualize a ball of blue flame representing your unconditional love. Bring the light across to your right shoulder. Visualize a ball of red flame representing your will. Cross your arms. Leolam. Amen. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. Yehovah Ezar. Adonai Beitome. Maya. Agela. Nanuteya. Before me, Raphael. Behind me, Gabriel. At my right hand, Mikael. At my left hand, Uriel. Around this flame, the pentagrams. And within us shines a six-rayed star. Gate of transformation. I open the gates between worlds. I initiate the journey, and I open the gateway to Tzaddi, the path of the star. I open the gates between worlds. I invoke the guide who will guide us on our journey. I open the gates between worlds. I invoke the fierce guardian who will bar our way and test us. I open the gates between worlds. I invoke the ordeal, the enemy within our hearts that we must overcome, or by fear be blocked forever. I open the gates between worlds. I open the gate transformation. Oro sicle, l'acqua anta lo selque. The call, the Enochian call of the pathway. O iado, Apollona, eo inat de gimahalelorem deloreme, o ganasuga, isibas adase de a orinzen de iadon, ud leholo kalmilketh, ud do fenael a yad ananael de ahonim I ode efe. Uel I zoda meta tonishida ida nana el de shin das a el de taxilut I ora de nu zoda adsa de ene di pirim ta kalimpe ta do das a charisma a itran toresu de o excele de o riprit rie quelilin a elaga il perigma o ganusage das o Juda ete itran I ugamel zoda od el itrian uran sila selot oder efe dado o ma axe das o zirdo el ka das sicle oder gana sogar isibas ac o gaholores adesa de a ozean de ia iodon. Dun anel basagam de milkal zoda apola eonat I odo od id odo efe asicle de elas olin namehema sabathe hilachan go agam Runenasim, Hego Eto, Gozimal, Exal Pitolam, Sorathim, Salathim, Basava, Saterebes, Sa'it, Dana Oho, Petomen, Nasiam, Gejinges, Leteos. Amen. I invoke the 28th path of Tzaddi. The 28th path is called the natural intelligence. By its completed and perfected the nature of all that exists beneath the sun. The guided visualization for the path of Tzaddi.
The 28th path is called the natural intelligence by its completed and perfected the nature of all that exists beneath the sun. The now familiar temple of Malkuth formulates around you. The altar flame lends its comforting warmth to the chamber. As before, you intone the names which call forth the inhabitants of this temple. Sandalphon appears as she has in all of your previous journeys, and you exchange the usual signs. You hold up the symbol of Aquarius for her to see, and she takes you quickly to the eastern portal of Tau. Soon you are at the entrance to the temple of Yesod. You emerge without the archangel, giving the projection sign. Once inside, you give the sign of silence. The 9 violet walls of the chamber, along with the Enea angle, carved into the floor, create a sight that never fails to heighten your sense of awareness. The thick scent of jasmine hangs in the air, bringing with it the tingling sensation of the kundalini along the nerves of your spine. The phases of the moon, carved in quartz and ebony, seem to float eerily in the ceiling above the incense. The 4 cherubic statues around the silver altar and its central flames provide an etheric feeling of awe and timelessness.
You call forth the divine names and spiritual inhabitants of Yesod. Shaddai, Elhai, Gabriel, Cherubim. The beautiful Archangel Gabriel formulates in the jasmine mists and addresses you. Behold the realm of the foundation, the sphere of the art of magic. You have entered the current of the astral light. By what symbol dost thou enter into the temple of flux and reflux?
By the symbol of Aquarius.
The archangel anoints you with perfume as you step into the sandals of firm foundation, which provide you a better footing in the astral plane. Gabriel then takes you to the archway in the southeast, bearing on its keystone the letter Tzaddi in brilliant white. Within the arch is a veil on which is depicted the tarot card of the star. Gabriel traces the sigil of Aquarius, and the veil evaporates, disclosing a door of glass on which is a panel of violet stained glass, shaped in the form of the letter Tzaddi. You hold up the Aquarius symbol and trace the letter of the fishhook. The door opens, and your journey on the path of Tzaddi begins.
You find yourself in a dense green forest. This is a place of great power and tranquility. Some distance in front of you is an immense rocky cliff. A magnificent waterfall cascades from the top of the cliff to a lush garden below. The river of water at the base of the waterfall is crystal clear. It gradually splits into 4 lesser streams that snake off in different directions, disappearing into the forest. You become aware of the fact that you are not alone in the garden. Another being is here as well. It is no ordinary creature, but a being of light. It appears to be human, but hermaphroditic, containing aspects of both sexes. The face of this figure is so serene and innocent that it fills you with emotion. You feel a slight throb of empathy in your solar plexus. The connection that you feel with this being is almost indescribable. The Archangel Gabriel speaks to you in your mind, narrating the scene before you.
And Tetragrammaton Elohim planted a garden eastward in Eden, and out of the ground made Tetragrammaton Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also, in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. This is the tree that has 2 paths. And the river Nahir went forth out of Eden, namely from the supernal triad, to water the garden. And from thence it was divided into 4 heads and da'at. The river going forth out of Eden is the water of life, which proceedeth out of the throne of God. And Elohim said, let us make Adam in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and all over the earth, and every creeping thing that creepeth over the earth. And the Elohim created Eth Ha-Adam in their own image. In the image of the Elohim, they created them. Male and female, they created them. For as above, so below.
Suddenly, the hermaphroditic figure splits in half. Two distinct beings now stand before you, one male and one female. They are the great archetypal figures that you know as Adam and Eve. In appearance, they are a beautiful naked man and a beautiful nude woman. They are mighty, immortal, spiritual entities who speak directly to God. The immortal progenitors of the human soul, animus and anima, logic and instincts, separated for the sake of alchemical reunion. Their mission is to found a new spiritual race, humanity, and to bring that race closer to the divine.
The narrative of the Archangel Gabriel proceeds, and Elohim placed Eth Ha-Adam in the Garden of Eden to care for the garden. And Elohim commanded Eth Ha-Adam, saying, Thou mayest eat from every tree of the garden, but not from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. For the day thou eatest from the tree that has two paths, thou shalt surely die. The voice of Gabriel continues, The rivers of Eden form a cross, and on that cross, Adam, the son who was to rule the nations, is extended from Tiphereth, and his arms stretch out to Gedula and Geburah. And in Malkuth is Eve, mother of all, completion of all, and above the universe she supporteth with her hands the eternal pillars of the Sephiroth. And it was written, above the shoulders of that great goddess is nature, and her vastness exalted.
The two proto-humans frolic playfully in the garden. They are given the task of naming the animals in the garden. These first animals are unlike any that you are familiar with. By naming them, the humans bringing their spiritual essence into manifestation. Adam and Eve carry out this task faithfully because it is their greatest desire to be like Elohim, to emulate the Elohim in the same way that a child emulates a parent. You notice that a third figure of light enters the garden. It is Nahash, the enchanter, Nahash, the serpent, Nahash, the tester. The enchanter approaches Eve and convinces her that the Elohim's commandment against eating from the tree of good and evil is actually a test. Elohim passed a law that was meant to be broken. Adam and Eve were created to emulate God and to become more like God. But since God was unbounded by laws, only by breaking God's law could they become like God.
Persuaded by Nahas' line of reasoning, Eve eats from the forbidden tree in her desire to emulate God and shares its fruit with her mate. Immediately, Adam and Eve receive the knowledge of good and evil. But more than that, they become connected to both good and evil qualities, which did not exist within them until that point. The Elohim could be connected to both good and evil and not suffer any ill effects. Not so with Adam and Eve, who were to be the founders of a new species. You hear the voice of Gabriel speaking. For the great goddess Eve, who supported the columns of the Sephiroth, being tempted by the tree of knowledge, whose branches indeed tend upwards into the seven lower Sephiroth, but also tend downward unto the kingdom of shells, reached down into the Kipharoth, and immediately the columns were unsupported. The Sephirotic system was shattered, and with it fell Adam, the micro-prosperous.
With that first bite of the apple, Adam and Eve lost their immortality, and with the onset of mortality, they were filled with sexual awareness. Entranced and distracted by the power of good and evil, and of the awakening of the psyche, Eve, the instinctual self, momentarily suspended her support of the higher self, symbolized by Adam. The result was that they both dropped a level in their closeness to God.
The voice of Gabriel continues, and Elohim said, Behold, Etah ha-Adam has become like us, filled with the knowledge of good and evil. But now they are distracted and unbalanced. The pillars are left unsupported. Let us act before they partake of the tree of life and regain immortality before regaining their balance.
In a flash of light, a great figure appears in the west of the garden. It is a mighty cherub with 4 wings. 2 wings stretch upward and 2 downward. The cherub has 4 heads, that of a man, a lion, an eagle, and a bull, 1 head for each letter of the holy name Tetragrammaton. He bears a great flaming sword which turns every way to clear the path of the tree of life. The angel drives the distressed human couple out of the garden. Sobbing and confused, they are forced out of paradise. Once they are gone, the cherub turns to face you, and you are told to leave as well. You know that the fall of Adam affects you as well. Your soul is connected with good and evil as well. And because the Elohim gave humanity free will, you are free to choose which path to follow. Choosing well, having no wish to antagonize the other cherub, you leave the garden and head west.
The foliage of the jungle soon envelops you as you continue on your journey. Giant ferns and thick patches of palmetto scrub are all around you. You have to push the stalks away in order to see where you're going. Breaking through the densest portion of the forest, you suddenly find yourself facing a gaping hole in the side of the hill. It appears to be a cavern with a rocky ledge overhanging the opening. Again, you hear the voice of Gabriel speaking to you in your mind. This is the cave of treasures. You enter the cave and find a narrow passageway. You travel deep into its dark inner recesses. The blackness increases until you are unable to see at all. You continue slowly, feeling your way along with your hands and feet. At length, you notice a light ahead, another opening to the world outside. As you approach the mouth of the cave, you notice that it is now nighttime. The light that drew you out was the light of the full moon, which softly illuminates the cavern. You are surprised to see a figure laying in the mouth of the grotto, a handsome young man asleep in the moonlight. The soft rays of the moon gently caress his beardless face. Within the moonlight, another shape is forming, a graceful, feminine figure robed in silver. It is Selene, the lady of the bright moon, whose beauty was so renowned amongst the gods of Mount Olympus. The woman kneels down to pick up the young man's hand and press it lovingly against her face.
As you reflect on the figure of the man, wondering about his identity, you seem to recall a story from ancient Greece about a prince named Endymion, the son of the god Zeus and the nymph Calyx. How do you pronounce that? Calyce. One day, Endymion was hunting on Mount Latmus. He lay down to rest in a cool grotto and fell asleep. The goddess Selene saw him, and captivated by his beauty, she gently kissed his closed eyes. When the young man awoke, he remembered what had happened as a dream. The young prince journeyed to Mount Olympus to ask Zeus to grant him immortality and eternal youth. But on being admitted to the abode of the gods, Endymion was brazen and flirtatious with Zeus's wife Hera. Zeus agreed to give the prince what he desired, but as punishment for his intrigue with Hera, it was granted on the condition that Endymion remain eternally asleep. So when the prince returned to the cave on Mount Latmus to wait for his starlight mistress, he fell into a dreamless sleep from which he has never awakened. Here he remains eternally young and eternally asleep. Night after night, the goddess Selene comes to the mountains to silently contemplate the beauty of her sleeping lover, who can never again return her love. Since that time, the amorous rays of moonlight caress the sleep of mortals. Not wishing to intrude on their time together, you leave the goddess kneeling over the prince and walk down a sloping hillside under the starry canopy of night. At the bottom of the hill, you hear the sound of rushing water. A large seven-pointed star in the heavens guides you to the sound of the water. Soon you are standing on the bank of a river under the indigo sky of the night, admiring the stars of the Milky Way above. The pleasant voice of Gabriel speaks to you from the large star overhead.
Follow the river Hiddekiel. Bathe in the waters of life. Meditate. Your connection to the restored Garden of Eden is through the four rivers. You wade into the waters of the river, which is knee-deep. Walking against the current, you follow the stream back to its source. Before long, you arrive once more at the Garden of Eden and the waterfall which feeds the four rivers. The tree of life is there, along with the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. There are no humans or animals anywhere to be seen, although you don't see the fearsome cherub who drove you out earlier. The flaming sword, shaped like a lightning bolt, hangs in the center of the waterfall, preventing evil from entering the river Nahir or the supernals beyond. The fiery corona of the sword is unharmed by the cascading water. Drawing as close as you can to the base of the waterfall, you hear the voice of Gabriel once more. Bathe in the waters of light. Meditate. The way to the restored garden is through the rivers. You immerse yourself in the water at the bottom of the falls, letting its cool, clear water flow over you. Then you stand up, slightly chilled by the feel of the night air against your wet skin. Closing your eyes, you begin to mentally intone the divine names of Yehovah and the permutation of the name He Yad Vav He that is associated with the sign of Aquarius. You meditate quietly on the vibration of the names, shutting out all else.
Then in the mind's eye, you see the usual image of the tree of life standing before you. This is the fallen tree, with the supernal separated from the lower Sephiroth by the veil of the abyss. There is a dark hole at Da'ath where the Sephirah once existed. Malkuth has dropped into the kingdom of shells. There is a sudden flash of light and the vision changes. You are granted a glimpse of the tree restored with Malkuth raised to its original position, and then the vision slowly fades. You open your eyes and are astonished to see the enormous figure of a woman towering over the summit of the waterfall. She is nude, but transparent, and through her unveiled body, you can see the starry night sky beyond. She is crowned with the figure of the sun, and the crescent moon is under her feet. On her head is a crown of 12 stars. From 2 vases, she pours forth the waters of life which mingle to form the supernal river Nahir that feeds the waterfall below her. The vision of the goddess is so overwhelming that you cannot help but whisper in a hushed tone, Mother of God.
The star goddess speaks without opening her mouth. I am the synthesis of Isis, Nephthys, and Hathor. I also am Amia, Bina, and Tabuna. I am the rain of heaven descending upon the earth, bearing with it the fructifying and germinating power. I am the plenteous yielder of the harvest. I am the cherisher of life. I am the dew descending viewless and silent, gemming the earth with countless diamonds of dew, bearing down the influence from above and the solemn darkness of night. I am the ruler of mist and cloud wrapping the earth, as it were in a garment, floating and hovering between earth and heaven. I am the giver of the mist veil of autumn, the successor of the dew-clad night. Where the paternal monad is, the monad is enlarged and generous too. And beside him is seated the duad. But the mind of the Father said that all things should be cut in three. Whose will be ascended, and then all things were divided. For the mind of the eternal Father said, into three, governing all things by mind. And then appeared the triad, virtue, wisdom, and the multi-sentient truth. Know now that the day after the formless and the void and darkness are rolled back, the garden shall be restored. The tree shall no longer be fallen. Know thou that my offspring, a new Adam, shall restore all the thing to the previous balance. Just as Adam had been extended on the cross of the celestial rivers, so shall my son, the second Adam, be crucified on the cross of infernal rivers of Da'at. Yet to do this, he must descend into the Sephirah, which is fallen, and be born as a child of earth.
After the goddess finishes speaking, her outline fades into the constellations of the Milky Way. You're filled with inspiration and creativity, and you know that someday you just might reach the restored Garden of Eden through hard work, discipline, and meditation. Soon the fingers of morning begin to grasp the eastern edges of the sky, pushing the stars ever higher above the horizon. As dawn breaks over the garden, you know it is time to leave. You turn away from the garden to face the portal into Yesod. Entering the temple of Yesod, you replace the violet sandals to the foot of the altar. Gabriel then guides you back to the temple of Malkuth. Sandalphon seems particularly pleased to see you after the journey and welcomes you with an embrace worthy of an archangel. She then closes the portal of Tzaddi. As always, you allow yourself a few moments of silent communion over the altar flame with Sandalphon. After this journey, such moments of silence seem pregnant with conversation. Finally bidding the archangel farewell, you salute with the projection sign, and in turn she gives the sign of silence.
Meditation.
Okay.
Have a few moments of meditation, and then we'll journey the return path. We'll create the path. Return gateway. Feel free to stay in meditation. I open the gates between worlds. I open the path of return. Open the gates between worlds. I summon the guide, which shall guide us back to the world of light. I open the gates between worlds. I invoke the guardian, where we must separate truth from fiction on our return. I open the gates between worlds. I summon the ordeal, where we must transmute the wisdom which we have gained in this journey into a boon that shall benefit the world. I open the gates between worlds. I open the path of return. I shall come forth by day. Odo sike laqua anta nostelque. Gabriel, we thank you. Oh, Uriel, we thank you for your grounding, inner contemplation. Gabriel, we thank you for the ecstatic states that you lift us towards. Mikael, we thank you for your illumination and protection. Raphael, we thank you for your equanimity and balance.
By this merit, may all sentient beings know peace.
Rule is complete. Thank you.